Morning. Today's date is March 5th, 2026. It's 11:30 in the morning. We're here at the residence of Greg Lafoe. And what we're here to do is analyze the damages. We want to examine what it is we're looking at here to help the insurance. I believe this claim was denied, and we're going to try and show some evidence supporting that this is in fact hail damage to this property. First thing I want to do is I'm going to come over here and take a look at the collateral. Okay, so we have some obvious circular dents on this downspout here, and I'm going to take my measurer and see that we're measuring up to about 3/4 inches. That one's closer to 1/2 inch. It's important to remember that the dents on these metals, they can't be smaller in hail size, but they could be larger. Could be a corner that's hitting that there. Okay, but we're measuring within that 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch, 1 inch percentile. What we're going to be doing is trying to show a pattern to all of the anomalies on this roof. Collateral, hits to the shingle, to see if they're measuring up within the same size, because if they are, that is evidence of hail. First thing right off the bat that I'm noticing is there's small spatter marks all over this standing seam metal here. As you can see, all of these small dots, that's spatter. I'm going to take my chalk over here, and what I want to do is come down and run a line. Okay, now I'm not seeing any dents on here. No, there's one. This is thicker gauge metal, so I'm not surprised there's not a ton of dents on here. It takes some pretty dense and substantial hail to dent the metal. But this hit here, what I want to do is take my ruler and I'm going to measure, and what we're seeing is 3/4 inches. So far we've got 3 hits on the soft metals. I'm trying to zoom in so you can see that. These meta glasses, they only film in 3-minute increments, so I will have to pause it at some point and restart. But so far what we're seeing is all 3 of the hits on the collateral that have been examined so far are measuring within that same percentile, which off the rip tells me it's likely they were caused by the same event. Okay. Move on up here to the roof, and I'm seeing some anomalies already. I'm going to circle some. Just as I see them. Got a little bit of wind here. Continuing on marking here. Goodness gracious. If that was ever a bruise or an impact to a shingle, it's that right there. I'm sure if I touch it, definitely bruised matting on that one. Okay, so we've got some hits marked up on this front slope. We can mark up a couple more just for the sake of what we're doing here. I want to show a consistency amongst the size of these anomalies. Alrighty. Circle a couple more, and I'm intentionally going out of the size of a test square to show that this is throughout. Okay, it's not in one localized area. Alright, and so if you remember the beginning of this video, measuring the collateral, I was able to show that we're falling within that 3/4 inch to 1 inch percentile. If this is wear and tear on this roof, none of these anomalies should be measuring up to that same size. Now look here, that's blistering. I want to take this opportunity right now and just take a moment to show the difference between this and this. This and this. I'm going to get as close as I can. This, okay, and that. You can see here we have asphalt matting completely deteriorated, and you can see that the asphalt's actually gone away. It's completely dilapidated to the point that the fiberglass matting is exposed, whereas here we have bruised asphalt matting with embedded granules. Here the granules have actually popped out of that. So this is going to be your difference between blistering and a hit. Same here. Obvious some type of marring or blistering you can see here that the asphalt has popped out of that shingle. The asphalt mat is completely gone. There is no presence of granules. There is no presence of any asphalt, only fiberglass, telling me that heat, again, there is no ridge vent on this, so that explains it. Heat caused the shingle to blister and pop outward, removing the asphalt matting. Now, I can take my measurer here, and what we're getting is that's over 2 inches in size. Take a look at this blister here. That's measuring up to about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches in size. So off the rip, these 2 wear and tears here, there is no consistency. There's no consistency in shape. There's no consistency in size. There is no type of pattern that we could write up. Now, if I start circling, measuring these hits that I've circled, 3/4 inch to 1 inch. 3/4 inch to 1 inch. 1/4 inches. This one's very important right here. Again, you can see some blistering above on the shingle above it. But if we look at this here, there's 2 separate surfaces, this shingle and this shingle, that are both damaged by that anomaly. And if I measure it, 3/4 inch to 1 inch. Let's keep moving on along. Again, here we have some blistering. Blistering here. That's coming out to 1.5 inches. Okay, so what we're seeing, again, the blistering is not measuring with any type of consistency on the pattern. However, the hits, 3/4 inches. 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 Folks, again, the likelihood of all of these anomalies that you see on this roof, 3/4 inches. Measuring up to the same size of reported hail on the date of loss. It's 1 in trillions that this isn't hail. Come down over here to examine the spatter on this roof. Okay, see this here? That white mark? 3/4 inches. Let's find another good spatter hit. 3/4 inches. Again, the spatter is evidence that it did in fact hail at this property, and it was dense enough, 3/4 inches, to remove this oxidized layer of algae on the north facing slope. 3/4 inches. 3/4 inches. So not only, here's an actual hit to the north facing slope, 3/4 inches. So not only is the collateral as well as the hits on the shingles, but the spatter is also measuring up to the same size of reported hail on the date of loss. Spatter is definitely a sign that it was hail. So we can see that it did hail here, and we can measure based on the size of the spatter what size the hail was here. It was 3/4 inches here. So we know that it did in fact hail at this property by measuring the spatter. It was at least 3/4 inches. And when we come and measure these anomalies on the shingle, they also come out to 3/4 inches. Okay, again, here's some more blistering on this roof. So we can see right here, it's measuring out to 1 3/4 inches. Again, if I zoom in, I'm trying to get as close as I can, you can see there is no asphalt there. It is completely busted out, popped outward from heat trapped underneath the shingle, removing the asphalt matting and the granules, leaving only fiberglass. Stark contrast in comparison with an actual hit, a bruise to the shingle from hail, 3/4 inches, granules impacted into the shingle. Again, 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches. So far I'm able to show that there is wear and tear, some blistering, some signs of aging on this roof. However, they're not following any type of pattern. What is following a pattern is the anomalies on the shingles that I believe are hail. Let's look here now on the left slope. Three-quarter inches. 3/4 inches. That's 1 inch. 3/4 inches. 3/4 inches. 3/4 inches. 3/4 inches. At the very least, we're showing some sort of pattern here that something caused the damage to these shingles. 3/4 inches. Let's take a look back here. I want to take a look at some of the soft metals. Let's take a look at that right there. 3/4 of an inch. Same size, same size, same size, same size. The only thing that's not measuring up to the same size would be the wear and tear, which is on this roof. However, the likelihood of all of these other anomalies on this roof measuring out to the same size as reported hail on the date of loss, measuring out to the same size of damage to the soft metals, on the gutters, on the roof vents, and the spatter is 1 in trillions. 3/4 inches. Circle some of these on the back. I'm gonna do it at random here. Again, no square. Not gonna follow any type of pattern. We're just gonna randomly select them. This is wear. This is wear. This is going to be marring of some type or wear. It's a lot more on this back. All right, let's take some measurements. All right, first of all, the wear. Okay, coming out to 1.25 inches. Coming out to 1.25 inches on this wear. Again, no asphalt. Just fiberglass, evident that it blistered. It popped from heat underneath the shingle, causing it to force outward, popped outward, just like an actual blister. And again, you see it in this location. The only pattern that blistering does follow is location. So if there's blistering here and here, there should probably be some more around it, right? Okay. Okay. Notice how it doesn't follow a shape and size. More, it's just locationally similar to that of a rash. But if I measure all these other anomalies, 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches, 3/4 of an inch. Obvious asphalt still intact, bruised and cracked. Embedded granules into the asphalt matting in comparison with no asphalt matting. Absolutely none. It is completely blistered and popped out, exposing the fiberglass. Blister, hail. Blister, hail. 2 inches, 3/4 inches. 2 inches, 3/4 inches. 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've seen here documented in live time is scientific evidence that this was caused by hail. Some outside source, outside, look at there. Why don't we take a measurement of that right there? 3/4 inches. Again, I'm not sure if this phone will pick it up, but from what I see with my own eyes is just the neighbor's roof. I see spatter all over that roof, further confirming that at this location, at this residence, there was in fact a hailstorm, because it wouldn't just hail here and not there. So, again, just want to keep on further proving my point. Three-quarter inches, 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches, 3/4 inches. Don't know what else we need to show to help, but it's evident to me, as it should be anybody else that reviews this video, that this is caused by hail. Yes, there's wear and tear on the roof. That's to be expected as they age. But again, huge difference between this anomaly and that anomaly. Hail, embedded granules, asphalt mat is bruised, crater in the shingle, blister, no asphalt matting. It is popped, leaving only fiberglass. No embedded granules. There's not going to be any embedded granules in blistering because there's no asphalt for them to be embedded into. Remember the beginning of the video? Only pattern blistering follows is location, like a rest. You have some here, you have it here, you have it here, you have it here. Look over here. Where is the blistering around the shingle? Only a hail hit.